I welcome all the panelists and all the participants to our next session, that is a panel discussion 2, which is Path to Market Leadership in Digital Era, a Global Perspective. We have our key panelists joining from Sterlite Technologies Limited, Head of Intellectual Property, Mr. Vaibhav Khanna. We have Intellectual Property Attaché for Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, French Embassy in Seoul, Anna Catherine Milleron. We have Senior Global Policy Counsel, the App Association, Brian Scarpelli. We have Amit Ben Yehoshua, International Attorney, Mediator, and Arbitrator, Amit and Company International Law Firm, Amit Ben Yehoshua. And our moderator for today is Raphaël Dana, Attorney at Law, Dana Associés. So over to Raphaël regarding your topic and to drive this conversation ahead. Thank you so much.
Very much for your presentation. So yes, like you said, the topic that we're going to tackle today, like you said, is path to market leadership in digital era. And one thing that is sure is that this is a topic that requires an international point of view. And so this is why the people that have been gathered for, I believe, the perfect profile for that, because Anne-Catherine, like you said, who's working with the French Intellectual Property Agency, the INPI, and she's based in Korea, and she will explain us how the French IP authority is able to assist companies and everything around both trademarks and patents questions from her position in Korea and serving markets including Japan and Taiwan. So that's a mix of very Asian matters with a French twist. Still on the geographical analysis, Brian Scarpelli, who's based in Washington, D.C., and with the App Association, so he will be able to explain a bit of the outlook on the questions that he can see from the business angle and provide recommendations that are very practical and going through notions such as patents, copyright, under the angle of how leadership can be achieved through domestic policy. And then Anne-Catherine, so while presenting the missions of the French IP authority where she is based, will provide us with information about the current trends with very interesting and I think very self-explanatory graphs about the evolution of both patent trends and seeing where geographically there is an evolution that is very visible, and also the trademark trend. So it's always interesting to take a step back and see this evolution in the digital era, the world having become such a tiny planet that no place almost cannot be reached. And then we have Vaibhav, who is with the company Sterlite Technology, and Sterlite is a huge provider both of telecom services, optical fibers. It's a very broad company with very challenging matters around IP. So Vaibhav will be able to give us his vision on how non-practicing entities have been cracked down upon, and a very interesting talk coming up about alignment of IP strategies, because this is how I believe IP should be considered. It's in terms of setting up a strategy, implementing it, keeping it up to date. I'm not going to reveal all the topics that will be evoked, but these ones are really very interesting ones. And last but not least, Amit, who is both an attorney and a mediator, who has the particularity of both having lived for almost a decade in China. And I mean, you will be able to tell that yourself, Amit, but I think you've been super busy as a former vice chair of the China Committee of the American Bar Association. You have founded the Israeli Chamber of Commerce in China. So This clearly puts you in a position with international knowledge between the Asian market, the questions that it triggers, and of course your job as an attorney and mediator out of Israel. So, Mike, would you mind or would you care to tell us a bit about your perspective? So you described it as the business angle or the small business angle, but I think it's really not small at all, and we really look forward to hearing your thoughts on this.
Sure, and thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, good, excellent. All right, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here with you all. Great to be here. Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than happy to talk and just a bit about the small business angle and some of the interests and ways that that I believe market leadership can be established given digitization. And this is an effect that our members, the members of my association, have been really driving globally. Just a bit about myself and my organization. I'll be very brief, but just to give everyone who's listening a little bit of context and give you an idea where I'm coming from. My organization is a not-for-profit trade association that's a global advocate for thousands of small businesses that are either in the software development or increasingly the connected device industries. That's a very broad and sweeping scope that I just described, and indeed the members are as diverse as they can be in geography and in demographics, of course, but also in their business models, whether they're in consumer or enterprise verticals or both, and really, you know, I think you'll find a lot of these small businesses increasingly in the enterprise context, finding new opportunities to introduce broadband connectivity and access to near real-time big data analytics that inform new efficiencies. You know, and that to me is what the Internet of Things is. It's really a concept rather than a standalone vertical or something like that. You know, there's economic reports that we've done about our sector, our part of the tech sector, if you want to call it that. Currently, we estimate the small businesses in the digital economy that we represent to contribute 1.3 trillion US annual to the global economy, and we call that the app economy. So that's just a little bit about my org for what it's worth. And I'm an attorney, like they've mentioned. I'm an attorney. Raphaël mentioned I'm an attorney. I've worked at this organization for 6 years and have worked at some other trade associations, mostly in the telecommunications space. But that's, you know, for what it's worth there by myself. Enough about me. But you know, I think there's IP generally is immensely valuable to the small business community that usually has one go at making it, and any kind of negative event, including you know, a massive IP infringement that might degrade end user trust and things like that, can spell the end of a startup. So it's immensely important. I think the small business community increasingly understands that. And we you know, surveyed our members relatively recently and found you know, some just statistics that validate what I'm claiming there. 75% of all of our members hold at least one trademark. Over 50% hold or license a patented technology. 1/3 of our members who hold copyrights have experienced some sort of an infringement, and other statistics like that really just really validate, and we continue to educate our members as well about taking proactive steps to protect their IP rights, and that's still a problem, and where more proactivity could help. Generally, I think that across the different areas of intellectual property rights, patents, copyright, trademark, designs, and trade secrets, what the business community, especially the small business community, probably, if you have to pick one thing that they want the most, I really do think it is predictability. It's predictability and certainty, and that kind of extends to attaining intellectual property rights, but also in protecting intellectual property rights. So being able to rely on some basic rule of law in key markets, for example, to address an infringement is absolutely essential. And the inability to do that, to be able to effectively enforce an IP right that you hold in a key market, can and has, for our members, represented a big enough uncertainty that they have simply withdrawn from a market or have decided not to enter a market. Not always, but it has happened. And so, particularly one area of patents, and I know future panelists are I think going to speak a little bit more about this, but one area that I would just call out underneath patents is very interesting area with a lot of development in law and policy, especially over the last couple of years, standard essential patents. So you have a technical standard developed, a technical interoperability standard, like most people are familiar with Wi-Fi. That's developed through a standard setting organization. People contribute patents to that. So if a patent's essential to the standard, one cannot use the standard without exercising the patent, and therefore theoretically you owe a licensing fee. So you have a wide user base, and there's competition law trade-offs, very interesting area. And we found ourselves being more active in bringing our members' voice to policy conversations with respect to SEPs almost than any other topic. And I think that speaks to that Internet of Things effect that I was trying to describe earlier. The ability to incorporate connectivity into an IoT widget will inevitably rely on standardized wireless communication technologies that incorporate patents and have patents that are essential to using them.
Brian,
yes.
Just I was wondering, in the frame of your mission with ACT, have you had to interact with internationally located intellectual property authorities, such as the one that Anne-Catherine is representing today? Have you been in connection with such authorities while helping? Because I believe you are assisting I don't know if you call them subscribers or customers or protégés. How would you call or members? Maybe they're members.
Yeah, members. Yeah, right. Absolutely. As much as so we are certainly trying. One that is definitely a function of an organization like ours is creating a forum for trusted dialogue. Sometimes just dialogue, where questions can be asked that you wouldn't ask in a crowded room with press there and things like that.
Right.
Where you can get one-off targeted answers to questions that you may, and things like that. But also in engaging formally through written comments and things like that when there's an opportunity. We certainly do that too. But yeah, that's a function of our association. I should mention too that international authorities is kind of an interesting word, really, because separate, like not governments, but we also have a similar role with key platforms, app stores, for example, right? So we're always trying to facilitate this dialogue between the big developer community and
No, that's a very
Apple
that's a
and
great
things like that. Yeah, to
position.
create that dialogue and help an understanding so they can resolve issues easily when they arise and things like that.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, the international, I know that I apologize. I think I've rambled on too much and run
No,
over
no,
just a
don't
bit.
worry. But we just need, because we got a lot to cover. So
Sure.
that's I think it gives us a great perception of how ACT interacts with its members. And I would like to now pass the microphone, so to speak, to Anne-Catherine. If you don't mind explaining, just so I know you have slides, and would be interesting, maybe quick words for those who don't know the INPI. I sure do. I grew up hearing about that, being a French lawyer, and then maybe going through your slides. And yeah, the floor is yours, Anne-Catherine.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just see that my computer has some restriction about sharing my my desktop,
It's
so I
okay.
will not be able.
Don't worry. But if you are able to look at the slides for yourself, then that's fine. It will be even more lively to listen to you and not have to watch the screen. So.
Yeah, no problem. I think the French government doesn't want me to share what is on my laptop to
It's fine.
other
So
people.
who are you with the ENP? What is the ENPI? Yeah, INPI actually.
Yeah, the INPI, the IP office of France. So it means that if you have to file a patent, that would be to us, or a trademark or a design. So this is kind of a USPTO in United States, or Japan Patent Office in Japan. So in the French Patent Office, there is a network of IP Attaché or IP counselor in embassies. So I'm one of them. So my mission is to help, people in my area. So I cover Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, to understand the IP system in France, for example, or in Europe, because I cover also all Europe. So if anyone has any questions about IP system in Europe, or want to be connected to France some way, just you can contact me, or anyone in the network of the international network in French Embassy. So I'm not alone. We are 10 of us, and each of us covers quite a few countries. For example, I see that online right now, there's one of my colleagues, which is from India, which is called Renaud Gaillard. So you can also connect with him. He's part of this session as an attendant. And so, yeah, this is mainly my work. So please feel free to contact me for any information. So what I was going to talk about today is about trends. I was thinking that there would be nice trends about patent publication and trademark publication. I wanted also to see about trend in copyright, but unfortunately, it's very difficult to have trends on copyright filing, because in the US, you can file copyright. You can register, copyright. In Japan also, in Korea also, but in Europe you cannot. So it's not the same system. So I made some research for patent application, and I've noticed that the WIPO, of course, published a lot of information. And the last few years, the first technology filed in patent is, of course, computer technology. So it's the first by far of patent application is in computer technology those years. And as you can guess, the first country who is filing a computer technology patent is China. Of course, they are the first country in the world with the most patent application, and computer technology is no exception. So they are by far, there is twice more patent application in China last year, 2018, so 2 years ago. There is twice more application of computer technology patent in China than in US, which is the second country. And of course, third and the fourth country are Korea and Japan, Japan and Korea in that order, which are part of the country I cover, and then Europe. The top applicants for computer technology patents are from that country. So you can see there's IBM, Alibaba Group also has a lot of patent application into computer technology, of course, there's Microsoft, Samsung, Google, Zhengzhou, Unite Information Tech. I'm not a specialist of China, but I guess it's a China company. There's State Grid Corp China, Canon, Sony. So yeah, all that kind of company, all the top applicants in computer technology, in digital patent application are from China, Japan, US, and Korea with Samsung and LG. So the main players are really mostly located in Asia and a little bit in the US. Europe is not really in the top applicants, but I think it's also because Europe, we have a lot of SMEs. So, you know, SME, they are not in the top applicants, but they are here also. For the trademark application, I divided into class, and I saw that the second class in trademark application, which has the most application, is the class number 9, which is scientific and research. And of course, this is increasing year by year. And once again, the top country for this trademark application is China, followed by United States, Japan, Europe, and Korea. I noticed on my trend, while doing the trend, that you know, China is really increasing patent applications, but Japan is really slowing down. So there is no more increase in patent application. Same in Korea, nearly the same in Europe. So
do we know why?
China is really increasing.
Do we know why? Because we understand that China is working maybe harder and filing more patents, which makes sense. It's a direct proportionality between brain activity and creations you want to protect. But why do you think, if you have insights on that matter, why would the Japan, Taiwan, and Europe slow down at the same time? Is there any business or legal explanation from your point of view?
Yeah, it's part of the growth explanation. So China is still in growth. Japan, the growth is really slower now. So in the company, the budget for patents is not growing anymore. So it's kind of stable. And also Japan company now they have they want to file more globally. So they file less patents inside their own country and more patents outside their country.
So it's more catching up.
For Japan, yeah. So it's kind of catching up.
But it's expensive.
But I've got, yeah. I saw during doing the trend that in Canada it was really going down, but like crazy going down for computer technology. Like it was more than 2,000 patents in 5 years ago, and now only 200 patents. So 10 times less. But I have no explanation for Canada. So if anyone have any explanation, they can tell me.
We'll keep that for the open questions if we have time.
Yeah. And last thing I wanted to tell you about is about SEP. As Brian told a little bit about that. You know that in Europe there's a commission, the EU Commission published guidelines in 2017, and these guidelines are to how to do licensing and SEP. So they made this guideline thinking about SMEs, you know, because for SMEs, the standard essential patents is a real big issue, because every time they want to use any essential technology like 5G or Wi-Fi or any other standard, it's really complicated for them. So for the SEP, they open guidelines. So the guidelines are mainly like increasing transparency about SEP. So they ask like a standard developing organization to have easy to use database and a lot of transparency. And they also ask to have easy essentiality check, so that any SME who has a patent or even big company has a patent can see if it's essential or not to the standards. And also they had some guideline about licensing. Of course, they say they have to be fair, in good faith, they also recognize that there is not only one solution, because there is never one solution for licensing, as you might know.
Right.
They say that you have to consider the economic value of the patent technology and the added value of the technology to the final product, and that you should not treat one patent by one patent in a standard. You should consider them as a whole for licensing, and not one by one, and not country by country, because it's clearly bad faith. And they encourage like using platform of licensing and pools.
Patent pools.
And
right.
Yeah, patent pools. They encourage this. So this is a EU guideline. So it's free. Anyone can take a look at it. And I think it's a good way to begin with. I mean, it's not a solution to anything, but it's a good way.
No,
they also promote.
Yeah, no, it's great that you were able to mention that, and I really have to watch the clock as a moderator. We have, but thank you so much for your presentation. I think now all our attendees know more about the INPI, and they know where to reach you at the French Embassy in Korea and online. Thank you so much. Vaibhav, you have so many topics that you wanted to cover, and I want to make sure that we leave enough room for Amit. So without further ado, Vaibhav, what do you want to start with? I know you have information about crackdown on NPEs. That sounds very appealing, but I'll let you see and try as much as possible to keep it around 7-8 minutes, so we have some time for Amit and the rest. Thank you in advance, Vaibhav.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph, for passing on the mic. And I'll definitely be mindful of the time slot that has been given to me. To start with, just to give a little bit of background about Sterlite, I'm head of intellectual property there, and we are a company who is into data network, right from the designing part to architecture part to manufacturing optical fibers, cables, and passive components, to the radio, to the Wi-Fi, to virtualization of the network. So it's an entire end-to-end solution that we provide. And we have our manufacturing presence in India, China, Brazil, Italy for the data centers, and so on and so forth. And possibly work with pretty much every single telco of the world, right from North America to China to India. And hence the kind of challenges that we face is kind of little different from most of the kind of world leaders in terms of technologies of G's and Ericssons and Toyotas would face. So possibly in last kind of few years, we have kind of really realizing that while there has been a lot of action that has happened in IP field. So on one hand, there has been crackdown on NPEs, which has kind of really taken off the value from the patents. So their tradable value has gone down very significantly, and banks, like somebody in earlier session has pointed out, that have become reluctant to use those IPs and trademarks and patents as a security and give loans and all. Then there was another action that came up in terms of Ellis judgment, which pretty much was a kind of death knell for business methods and really makes it hard for software related patents. So it was in a way that we see a lot of value being knocked off from patent portfolios of a lot of these companies, a lot of the companies across the globe, and irrespective of the domain that you are operating. And this was something that was making it difficult for almost all IP departments, in-house IP departments, to really continue to create value for the business, because their licensing revenue, selling revenue was obviously going down very significantly. Then in parallel, in possibly an unrelated area of technology, this digital era of Industry 4.0 and IoT and 5G and all of these things were really picking up. So that was something that was acting counter to the kind of diminishing value of IP, pretty much in not only compensating that kind of diminishing value, it probably overcompensated, but it does obviously require a lot of realignment. See, for example, in a traditional IP strategy framework, you know your competition well, you know what they are doing, you track their patent portfolio, you build their patent portfolio to balance it out. Just in case there is a litigation, you can balance it out, some kind of cross license. You build your portfolio to ensure that there is an infringement by your specific competition, and hence you create a balance and you continue to operate. But what has happened in digital era, in this era of analytics, in this era of machine learning and artificial intelligence and IoT, pretty much the boundaries that any business was operating in, that boundaries have suddenly started to diffuse. Say, for example, a self-driving car will not possibly be infringing only patents from General Motors. It will possibly be using patents from artificial intelligence or machine learning or sensors or image recognition. So it is, the boundaries pretty much have gone blurred. So similarly, for banking sector, for telecom sector, pretty much everybody is using technologies which are way beyond their core area of expertise, and they're still incorporating it in a big way in their organization, in their offerings. Your freedom to operate, the way you define your freedom to operate in conventional way, that is pretty much rendered very ineffective and very vulnerable in the current scenario. Having said that, what this blurring of boundaries has also done, that the patents that were only valuable to a certain areas, their infringement or their potential infringers have gone beyond their traditional boundaries of technology, and pretty much the number of infringers that could be there for your artificial intelligence related patents or IoT related patents, that have exploded and skyrocketed. And this is something that has given an even chance for startups, for small companies, for new tech companies to really get noticed, to be in the game. Earlier, that was a closed circle, closed network of large technology companies who were kind of dominating this, were dominating the technology era, and there was watertight. You can't really get into it. You can't really get out of it. And suddenly there is an opening out there, because a lot of these patents are useful in beyond their core areas. So what this has caused for in-house IP counsels, for in-house IP departments, because they really start to rethink, because of low licensing and possibility of infringement coming from anywhere, their freedom to operate being shrinking, they really need to think of more values, more way of adding value to the business. And some of the leading companies, they've really shown the way. So for example, if you look at Microsoft, for Microsoft, the IP team really has gone out from silos, and it is pretty much merged in their business strategy, as it is clear from their offering to Microsoft Azure, so which is their cloud-based services. So what they say in their license, as you become a customer to Azure, that you have access to 10,000 Microsoft cloud-related patents, and you can use it for defensive purpose if you are a customer and you get sued because of usage of certain cloud technologies, or you develop something there and somebody sues you. So you can use Microsoft 10,000 patents to fight it out. So that is something Microsoft has taken this lead in this era, saying that yes, the time has come wherein we need to use IP for customer acquisition, for customer retention, and not only for maybe royalties and exclusion of your competition. Similarly, what used to be like patent pools who are licensing their standard essential patents, they're kind of slowly giving up way to more of defensive patent pools, which are kind of led by likes of AT&Ts and Microsoft himself in Open Innovation Forum, Open Invention Forums, Linux Foundation and all, wherein they kind of comfort each other. Possibly they'll not, the members will not really sue each other, or even if they are sued, they can collectively fight it out by leveraging each other's patent portfolio. So on and so forth. So this is making a tectonic shift in the way the IP strategy has been driven. So from being operating in silos and working on freedom to operate in a very isolated way, or collecting royalties, it is something which is becoming a lot more business oriented, a lot more customer oriented, and going not only understanding the business, but understanding the customer requirement, understanding how you can leverage IP to get customers to negotiate better deals in supply chain, to be able to retain the customers if you're developing customized product for them, so on and so forth. So this
And this is, yes, sorry to interrupt. This is a way that you can see from your very crucial position with your company that is actually having a direct impact on how to achieve the market leadership through all the notions that you describe of a new way of IP valuation. So you can see that.
right. So absolutely. So it is more about now, IP is more integrated to the business. It's connected to the customers. It's connected to the suppliers, not only the lawyers, but it is like more holistic, a business department in itself, supporting business growth and business strategy directly. So,
do you have strong? I'm going to prepare the transition to Amit's presentation. In just a few words, Vaibhav, how would you? What is the level of interaction of your company with the Chinese market?
So we have our manufacturing facility in China. So we do have our patent portfolio there, and
all right.
we do have several IP related transactions there, right from litigation to licensing and all. And I would rather say that the way China is coming up in IP domain, that is really exemplary. The kind of strides that they have made, and they're doing, they're really setting the path for many countries, many nations to follow. So
that's that's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much. And actually, now moving on. So thank you for these great insights. And I think what you just said is perfect for Amit to pick it up. Amit, you've been living 9 years in China, and now you moved back to Israel, and so you're the former vice chair of the China committee of the ABA, the American Bar Association, and you have even founded the Israeli Chamber of Commerce in China. So we would love to hear your thoughts on the matters that we've discussed, but also how do you see China's progress in the field of IP? How is it positioning? And we have an idea of where this is going thanks to Vaibhav, but please tell us more.
Sure. I first had the pleasure to co-found, there were other members that assisted in founding of the Israeli Chambers of Commerce in China. The topic, looking at the topic of today, we're talking about path to market leadership in the digital era. And what is amazing is the opportunity that we have now. We see people from across the world just in this panel. We have people from France, from the United States, from India. We have Anne physically located in Korea, and myself in Israel. So the question is how to reach to market leadership. And I personally chosen the axis of trade between China, US, and Israel. And that's my route. And what I would like people to take from this session, the importance of engagement, engaging to new markets, engaging to new opportunities. And now we have this panel that we have. I really hope that people, I'm looking at my screen, there are people messaging that want to engage. So it's really important that people, when they're talking about path to market leadership, is the leadership of doing something, going to new eras, to new areas, to new geographical locations. So when we're talking about markets, naturally, we're talking about the big chips. That's United States and China from the other hand. When we're talking about innovation, and you said that there's a decrease, and Catherine mentioned that there's a decrease in patent applications, innovations, there's one place that I encourage people to come to visit Israel. Israel is the top country of the world in research and development. And when we're looking for new ideas, I think it will be a great location to be. Going back to China, China has made an amazing change. When we're talking, think about it, the discussion now is China, and China raises again and again. China reached to the position of being the top in the world in registration of trademarks, registrations of patents. That was not the thing 10, 15 years ago. And this move is an amazing thing that we can look upon. And I think that the move is started from first legislation and bringing the awareness of the importance of IP in China to the continuous filing. Now, what we see also when we look at the global change, we're looking at Asia at large. When you look at the number of PCT applications that have been recently filed, it's no longer the game of Europe and the United States. You look at a much more even playing field, and you see a lot of Asian countries that are taking the lead. For example, Huawei of China is in the top 10. Mitsubishi Electric of Japan is taking the lead. Guangdong Oppo, which is the Chinese mobile company. Those are the companies that have more PCT applications, which is quite impressive. Now, we're talking about licensing and law in the digital era. One of the amazing things that I noticed is China's and also India's leadership role in changing the legal world to online dispute resolution. If you look today in the places where you have huge growth in online dispute resolution, you'll see China. China has its internet courts, which they're using across the nation. Also, Hong Kong. Hong Kong has an online dispute resolution platform, which basically is similar to the amazing online platform that you have in Europe for consumer disputes, and trying to change the world to being able to resolve disputes online, which really simplifies the process and increases the cost. I think those are the key impressive things that we can look in China and the world, how it's transforming.
That's great. And of course, making sure customers, because there's not just the B2B interactions, but customers also, individuals need to feel safe and need to feel that their rights can be protected easily. And you're right, the virtual online platform that has been put together is very good.
If I can add one point,
if
I can add one point regarding cross-border exchange and innovation and licensing, for example. Israel has, with many different countries around the world, there's a platform that they provide where one country offers IP to another company, and they have a joint development agreement, and both countries will give funding to the entrepreneurs. So, for example, if you have a Chinese company or an Indian company that wants to do business with an Israeli company, you'll be able to find government funding on those matters. And I'm sure that other countries have it. So really the most important thing is having companies engage and to really look outside the box and to look what are the global opportunities to engage.
Exactly. That's the only way to achieve leadership anywhere, I believe. I think we are nearing the end of the time that we had, but I also think that there's a networking session that is going to take place. Brian, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2:30 in the middle of the night in Washington, D.C. Am I right?
That's right.
We very much, I mean, I woke up at 6 and this is nothing special, and you are still here with us. You're wearing a tie. Superb. So thank you so much.
You know,
and we wish you
sleep with this tie on, so you know.
We know you're going to make sweet dreams about patents, SCPs, and all the nice things we talked about. It was great having you on board. I think you won't be able to stay for the networking session, but we will catch up soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I think you want to take this again at the conference organizers. Do you want to invite everyone to hop onto the networking room? I guess we got to click on the left, right?
Yeah. So thank you for moderating this wonderful session, and thank you to all the key panelists for joining for this informative session. So we can take 1 or 2 questions, like quickly, if anyone would like to ask any question from the panelists who are available here, we can take 1 question. Thanks, Vaibhav, Amit, and Catherine, Raphaël, and Brian for today's session so much.
Thank you.
Bye from here.
Cheers.